Hey everyone, welcome to another session of Conversations with Courageous Cancer Warriors. I have to tell you, I am so excited about our guest today. Miss Corbie Mitleid is with us, and I have to tell you that she has been on this mystic path for 40 years. She is a psychic, a channel medium, reading since 1973, and she's also a cancer survivor. So we are going to hear her story today. We're going to talk about how you could get involved with her. And just Corbie, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for asking.
So tell me a little bit about your story. Like, you have such an amazing background that I'm so excited to hear all about it, to share it with everyone.
It's going to jump around a little bit, but the first thing I'm going to tell you is you introduced me as a cancer survivor, and I'm going to change that.
Okay.
I didn't fight cancer, because what you fight fights back. And I'm not a survivor, because you hear the word survivor, you think hanging on by teeth and toenails.
Yes.
I am a cancer dancer. I found out how graceful I could be under pressure. I avoided getting my toe stepped on, and I got off the dance floor in one piece. So I have danced with cancer, breast cancer, 3 times. That's how I put it.
I absolutely love that. Now I have to correct myself, because I usually don't use the word survivor either. I usually use the word warrior. So it surprises me that I even said that. But I love your version even more. That's absolutely amazing. Now, how did you come into this mindset?
Cancer doesn't really run in my family. I mean, my mother had lung cancer, but she was a 4-pack-a-day smoker. You know, it's kind of like painting a bullseye on your forehead and saying, right here. So the way I was built was a big message thing. I mean, from the time I was 11, I had a Dolly Parton figure, no joke. 44 triple D, tiny waist and hips. And that's tough to live with. It gives you a certain mindset, like, this is all you're worth. So I was in New York in 1989. I was acting and had a mammogram and found out that I had ductal carcinoma in situ, both sides. Okay. The way I explain that to people who don't know from that, it means the cancer hasn't bought its swimsuit cruise tickets. It hasn't gone anywhere yet.
Right.
But when you've got the rack and you think all you're worth is what you look like, it's a big one. So I had 4 lumpectomies. Even though I was living in New York at the time, I went and had it done up at New England Medical Center, because my brother was on staff then. So we knew we had the best doctors. Then did radiation at Sloan Cat while I was working 60 hours a week for a law firm, auditioning for parts and blah, blah, blah. At one point, 2nd-degree burns, said radiation rest. But I was still doing an off-Broadway play, so you go and you do it. You wear a very baggy shirt and you live. But what I learned then was attitude was going to tell me how I was going to get through this. I knew somehow I wasn't going to die from this. It was just, I knew. But it was how I handled the rest of it that was going to make a difference. So I remember when I was going into Sloan Ket for the radiation, the first time I went in and they said, she didn't even look up, take off your clothes, there's the locker room. I said, no. She said, what? I said, I'm going to be in the Alpha Cradle for 5 minutes. I got auditions later. I'll just take off my shirt and go. I had already had my hair and makeup, and mind you, this is the 80s, remember the big hair days?
Yeah.
And everybody in the waiting room, their ears perked up, because I showed them I was not going to be a patient, I was going to be a co-conspirator. And I did that every day, came in with my headshots and my postcards and all of that, and maintained being me while I went and had that stuff done. About halfway through, I sat next to this woman who obviously, sour, miserable face. And I said, hi, what's with you? She went, I had cancer. I said, me too. What flavor is yours? Boom. Woke her up. And so we started talking. And I was done with my 6 weeks of radiation before she was, but I noticed she was starting to come in, hair, makeup, and refusing to be the patient.
I love it. Absolutely.
So that was the thing. When you're a cancer dancer, you have to pass on whatever you can do for others.
Absolutely.
So that was the first bout. Yeah, I had a couple of bouts of pleurisy with it, but I was all right. Second was in 2000. I was up in upstate New York at that point doing some different stuff. And I got Paget's on one side, which was skin cancer from the radiation that I had done. So, you know, another slice and dice, and they were misshapen and they were scarred, but they were still there. Then after, you know, dating and marrying very shortly to what I call bad biker boys, I found the guy I really fell in love with, very much like Father Mulcahy and MASH. And so we got married in 2002, 2004, microcalcifications on my mammogram. Mm. So at that point, my brother was at MGH. We went to MGH. They said, okay, you have cancer both sides. We're taking your ovaries and your breasts in 3 weeks, and you're going to go from this Dolly Parton figure with a libido of a 17-year-old boy to a fat fire plug with no libido and enough damage inside that sex is off the table for the rest of your life. Suck it up.
Whoa.
Yeah, the doctor who told me had I'd say he had the personality of a desiccated turnip. Didn't care, didn't answer any questions, just this is what it is, in and out in 5 minutes.
So, like, first and foremost, for people who are listening, DCIS is, you know, a precancerous state is what they call it. And that the concern with that is that it's multifocal, right? So even though they may take samples and biopsies with where the microcalcifications are, because that's where most likely the tumor will start, because it's so multifocal, the standard of care usually is to have a bilateral. And I've also learned that even though bedside manner is not always the best, but the best surgeons most of the time have the most awful bedside manner possible. So what did you do when he said that to you? Because you were on this journey for a while and had great care, and now here's this guy like talking to you like.
All right. In 1989, when you had ductal carcinoma in situ, standard of care was just lumpectomies,
right,
and rock and roll. To me, when I hear you say bilateral, that's a bilateral mastectomy. Yeah. So the thing is, this wasn't metastatic. This was a second primary that took the clock back to 0. Okay. But they still said you're done. So I went home and cried. You know, I'd only been married a year and a half. What was going to happen? Yeah. But I learned at a great place in Massachusetts called the Option Institute, got to find your happy. You got to find reasons to be okay with this. The thing will not change. What changes is your attitude. So I said, I have to find 3 reasons to be okay with it. It doesn't matter what. Okay, fine. Number 1, you don't have them. You can't get cancer there. Number 2, they're not going to get slammed in the refrigerator door at the doctor's every year. And every woman knows what I'm talking about with that. Third, implants. I'll be perky till I'm 93. This is cool. Mm-hmm. So that when I went into Mass General, I had 2 surgeons. Number 1 was Mr. Desiccated Turnip, and the other was Dr. Catherine Hurdle, who is fabulous. We call her Madame Artiste and Doc Miracle in my family because she is and she makes them. Now, I was looped up on fentanyl and Versed, which is a great, it puts you at the corner of Space Cadet and left field before you go in. And I looked at the turnip and I said, I'm giving you 3 hours for the demolition work. And I looked at Dr. Hurdle and I said, I'm giving you 3 hours for the front end alignment. I want to be out of here in 6. Boom. Well, I was out of the hospital in 3 days and shopped for a bathing suit in 5. Now I went out with Jackson Pratts. What is a Jackson Pratt? Those are long tubes with bulbs at the end, because when you get a double mastectomy and reconstruction, there's fluid that has to come out. Mm-hmm. Now, once more, got to get okay with this. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Hurdle was cool, so we named him Groucho, Chico, Harpo, and Zeppo. And I'd kind of say, well, Groucho and Chico are fine. Zeppo's giving me a pain in the ass today. And we'd work with it that way.
Man, I wish I knew you when I went through this experience, because
this is why I talk about it now.
It's I worked in pathology for 20 years, right? Like, this is I know this. And when you're going through it, it takes everything within you to just try to stay positive, like surrounding yourself with the right people, but they're freaked out too, right? So I'm amazed by, I wish I knew you. I wish I knew you before.
And the thing is, I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac, I admit it. Ain't crazy about doctors or hospitals, but I knew when you become a co-conspirator instead of a patient, what that means is you're not just a number and a pathology report to your doctor. They will remember when you come in.
Yeah.
Later on, when one of the problems that I had for a couple of rounds of this was a staph infection. Now, normally, other surgeons would have just yanked the implants and said, tough, not Dr. Hurdle. That's why she's Doc Miracle. So twice, once in 2005 and once I think in 2008, she had to go in, open me up, scrub them out with betadine, bacitracin, and alcohol. And then I was on a PICC line with vancomycin for 6 weeks. Okay. Yeah, well, you live with it. I took my bag of bug drugs and I went on an airplane to do a show in San Diego. Got great seats on the airplane. But the thing is, when the doctor knows that you're not just lying there depending on them, but you're putting your will, your oomph into this, they'll go the 100 miles for you. And you do become a favorite patient. I remember that she would bring in residents every morning, like 6 a.m. You know, the first was 2, then it was 3, then it was 5. We nicknamed them the Hurdle Herd. And when one day it was just 5, 2 days in a row, I said, we're 6. And the interns and the residents are a little nonplussed because, you know, I was not your typical patient. But who knows what I taught them? I mean, I come from a family of doctors. My father graduated from Hopkins in 2 years and 11 months to go with the Occupation Army in 46 over in Vienna. My brother graduated Hopkins in 74 and is now world famous for cystic fibrosis and asthma. I know that patients make a difference to interns and residents when they're learning. Absolutely. And if you can be somebody that they remember, then you are affecting the care that they will give patients all the way down the line.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And so what was that like for you? You know, so when they walked in there, how were they? Were they kind of like interactive with you, or did they kind of like take a back seat? Because every experience I've had, the residents usually kind of like, you know, are trying to show the attending that they're like, I know what I'm talking about. Or did they at least like get in there with you because of how you were?
Time.
Okay.
The second time and on, they just were kind of the audience waiting for the, you know, the comedy show. And that was fine because it meant that they were listening.
Yeah.
And they were also observing how to work with your patient.
Yeah.
So also, I know a little bit of medical jargon because it's everybody in my family. So somebody else might say, I'm having a pain, but I don't know why. I'm going to say, I have an idiopathic pain in my left wrist. You know, and they look a little, wow, she knows the doctor words. Again, I'm not saying that everybody, if you want decent cancer care, you have to do this. But the more you can make yourself a patient they'll remember for the good reasons, you know, don't be the grumpy Gertie, then they'll work with you. They'll listen to you. If you understand why they're doing things, one of the things I couldn't stand is when I was in for one of the staph infections, I kept having to have a belly shot of heparin, which is a blood thinner. That hurt. So I said, look, how about if I make sure that I get up and I walk every day and I wear the little inflating booty things and I do my part and maybe I don't have to do that. That was fine. I knew that there was also an antibiotic I was taking by mouth. It said calcium butchers what that's supposed to do. Sometimes the nurses don't think. I had just had a breakfast full of dairy. She walks in with a little pill. I say no. She goes, you have to take it. I say no. This is why. Blah, blah, blah. How about in 2 hours? And you could see the wheels start to turn. So I was able to get that dose down when it would do the most good. That again is why being a co-conspirator is better. When you are aware of your own care, when you're aware of what needs to be done, you're more cooperative when it really works. And they love patients that are cooperative. And you'll be able to talk with the doctor instead of having them talk at you. Like
Absolutely.
You don't
Absolutely. And a lot of patients' grumpiness, as you mentioned, comes from fear, right? Like you don't understand what's going on. They talk over you. They're speaking to you or at you at a completely different level. And that just makes you feel like you're not a part of it and that you are just a number for them. So that is a valid point of like getting involved in your care, being an advocate for yourself, like taking the opportunity to just really let them know you. Like, that's amazing advice. That's fantastic.
So the thing that I learned also with that is who I was going to be afterwards. Remember, Dolly Parton figured a fire plug. So I had to look at how life was going to change, because when you have a figure like that, that's how you identify yourself. That's how the world identifies you. Now, I look normal. You know, that was 16 years ago. And if you looked at me now, you could not conceive that I had a body like that, which means I've adjusted. It's not like I've lost something. I mean, I literally had to learn to walk with a different center of gravity, kids. It was amazing. But you also know who your team is. You know, I'd only been married for 1.5 years. I had no idea if Carl would stay. But he looked at me and said, am I going to miss him? Oh, yeah, they were gorgeous. But I married you, not them. One of the things that I have had to do as a reverend, as an intuitive counselor, is help women who wake up in the recovery room to find divorce papers and a note, I married a whole woman. And we hear that and we think, how can you? That's the case for some people.
It breaks my heart. You know, I was also in a similar situation where Dan and I were dating, you know, less than 6 months. And here's this poor guy, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, I'm about to go through something. I have no idea how this is going to end up. Like, and I remember having the conversation of like, you can go, like, this is not what you signed up for. And one of the most profound moments for me is him saying like, no, I'm here. Right. But you're right. A lot of people don't have that as an option. And that's so painful. So how do you work with people around that? Like, what's your experience with that?
You let them grieve. You let them hurt. You know, one of the things I'm going to tell everybody out there who's done or is doing the cancer dance, kiddo, one of the things that's a permanent, and I'm not going to say it's a scar, but it's a tattoo on your forehead and it's invisible and says volunteer. If somebody else has to do the cancer dance and you have anything good, useful, kind to help them with, do it. Now, it doesn't mean you have to identify yourself. I don't introduce myself as a cancer dancer, cancer survivor. I don't talk about it at all, because to look at me, you wouldn't see it. I pull out these stories only when I know they will help someone. Yeah. Because that also reminds me I'm so much more than just the cancer dance. Absolutely. I have 65 years of stuff. And the cancer dance was only a little bit part of that.
Yeah. And thank you for saying that too, because you definitely just validated me. Like, part of why I became a coach is for that exact reason. You know, I had been in healthcare. I'd worked in pathology for 15 plus years. And then here I am on the other side of the table. I had such a hard time of becoming the patient and not being the provider. And, you know, I knew there had to be something that I needed to do. Like, I had to be able to be of support somehow. And that's how I got into this. And that's why this podcast started. Like, I wanted people to hear other people's stories so they can get some benefit from it. And so, again, thank you for being here. And you're absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. So now you've gone through this, you're now, you know, it's been a while since this experience has happened. And then you moved on, and like, what are you up to now? Like, you help cancer patients, but you said you're also, you know, do you consider yourself a healer? Like, how do you identify yourself for the work that you're doing?
I'm a general practitioner. What do I do?
All though? Aren't we all?
You know, well, actually, let me back up and how I got started with the psychic work, because that's a little bit of a story. When I was 9, I read a book by by Eleanor Estes called The Witch Family. And I knew there was magic in the world. I wanted to go find it. 1973, I got my first tarot deck from Spencer Gifts. It was the James Bond 007 tarot deck. I mean, you had elephant bells and fringe jackets and tarot. Everybody was hippie. 5 years later, everyone else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I was still doing the cards, and I did it for 20 years. Making sure that I could keep my ego out of the way. All of a sudden, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. It's when the universe said, hello, here's your draft notice, you're working for us. Did it part-time through several careers: actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, executive recruiter. But when the towers burned on 9/11, I turned to Carl and I said, I need to do this full time. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So since, I took a year making sure that I could make a living at it, 2002, I never looked back. What do? Certified professional tarot reader. Yes, I'm a medium. I can contact your dead Aunt Mabel. I'm a past life specialist in Robert Schwartz's breakthrough books, Your Soul's Plan and Your Soul's Gift. I'm one of his top channels. Yes, I talk to spirit guides and angels. But this is not all about the wiki-woo. This is about helping people, saying, here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. Go rock and roll.
Amazing.
I'm not the repairman. That's you.
Yeah. So you support people along the way and just healing themselves.
I do. And when we're working, I always come, again, going to the Option Institute, you always ask yourself 3 questions about anything. What am I X about? X can be happy, sad, worried, whatever. Why am I X about that? And then the question you never ask yourself, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that?
Very true.
So, the psychic work is a whole nother show in itself. But one of the things that I do as an intuitive counselor is I help people consider different options. Yes, maybe I can see other things in the future. A very simple one. People came to me, it was about they're, trying to figure out a business. And I looked at a particular tarot card, looked at them and said, there's a consecrated or abandoned church within 2 miles, and that's where you need to open up the cafe bakery. They looked at me and they said, we've been passing one for 2 years and arguing. Yeah, they said nothing, but that's the wiki-woo part. When someone comes to me about the cancer dance, I will never say when they're going to die, if they're going to die. Number one, not my business. It's illegal in a lot of states, and you don't put it in someone's mind. My understanding is we have 4 or 5 different places we could leave. And if I said to you, I see you dying of cancer, it doesn't even matter when. The minute you get it, you figure that's my exit. And I put that in your brain.
Yeah. It's so true. Because, mindset is everything, right? You prove that. You prove that. So you're right. Like, having someone go to that is just not helpful. It's not helpful at all. It doesn't help them want to continue on. Like, you might as well just go and shoot them out back, right?
But I also explained there's a difference between a cure and a healing. You will always receive a healing even if you shuffle off this mortal coil. It may not be a cure for the disease. Yeah. But nobody gets a disease because they're bad. If you ever hear metaphysics, good karma, bad karma, oh, she got cancer, she must have been bad. No. Karma is really 5 things. Unbalanced energy, which is a neutral. Healing, service, contrast. You want to learn about abundance, you have to have a rich life and a poor life, and healing of beliefs. Now, let's look at my stuff. If you believe in reincarnation, which I do, I've got enough evidence for me, you don't always come back as the same gender. Again, you got to try both sides. So I've come in both male and female. This life was to teach me to appreciate being female in a human body and that it is worth more than its looks and sexual ability. In order to learn that, the cancer was triggered. Have I learned that? Hell to the yes. Am I sorry the cancer happened? No, it was lousy to go through. I am grateful as all hell that I did not have to have chemotherapy, and baby, I don't want it back. But who I am on the other side, I have embraced. I've seen everything that I wouldn't look at with myself when I had the rack. So realize that the cancer can be a teacher. And again, back in the 80s, they did a lot of visualization. And people would see the cancer cells as nasty and dragons, and the white blood cells were St. George to come in and say, not me. When they asked me to visualize my cancer cells, they were about 4 feet tall, apple green and fuzzy with big eyes and big feet and antennae, and they were crying. And I said, why are you crying? And they said to me, nobody loves us because we're different. So my visualization was a big sofa and gathering them all on my lap and loving them until they were pink again, like holding puppies. Okay. So whatever methodology you find to work through your cancer dance, be okay with it. You don't have to hate that cancer to beat it. Because the cancer, they're still your cells. They've gone crazy. They're like kids having a really deadly tantrum, but they're not evil. They are not sent by the devil. They are not marks of your badness. It's cells, it's science. And how you react to them will also kick up your immune system and help you marshal your own immune system forces and healing forces to get your cells normal again, whether they have to take out those cells or what. But why do some people have the exact same treatment and some live and some die? This is a lot of it. It's not all of it. I'm a belt and suspenders girl. Allopathic medicine is good, but it has to help here too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's been proven time and time again that your mindset can really either support you or, you know, you're either going to be successful or you're going to fail. So I'm 100% in agreement with that. So for people who are, you know, struggling right now and trying to keep that positive mindset, like what was some things that you did that might support them?
I let people help me. I let people help me. I'm a type A baby, and I'm a giver, and I organize, and I'm this and I'm that. And look, you're exhausted. Double mask and reconstruction, hell yeah. Radiation, boom. So I stopped trying to be a hero, and I stopped trying to be brave. And I rested when I needed to, and I accepted help, and I didn't worry about, oh, I better pay it back later. Because it wasn't a bargaining chip. It was accepting in the love and the caring from others. It is also important that you be okay with saying no. You know, no is a fabulous idea. I even have a postcard that I give people about that. Because if someone is coming to you and they are complaining about their life when you're busy trying to take care of you, you can say, time out. I'm sorry, I cannot listen to this.
Right.
Well, you're not very spiritual. No, I'm taking care of me. Don't get guilted into anything. When you know, it doesn't mean when you are doing the cancer dance that you have a right to be nasty to everybody and they have to suck it up. It's not that. You have a reason to take care of yourself. But if they are trying to help you and it's something you can take it, say thank you.
Yeah,
There are certain places you fight and certain places you don't.
Exactly. And the other thing too, you know, that comes up for me is that for somebody who's always used to being the helper, it was really hard for me to take a step back and allow people to help me. And when you're going through it, you don't realize how tired you really are. Like you just recreated that for me where I was like, she's absolutely right. Like I was trying to be the strong one. I was trying to be strong for everybody else to the point that I wasn't allowing myself to be okay with the fact that I was scared. I was tired. I was going through all my emotions. And, you know, the other thing too, is that people want to help. People want to support you. They want to be generous. They want to feel like they're making a difference for you. And I love the fact that you said that you don't need to pay it back.
No, you don't. But one of the things I will say to the helpers, please don't just say, what can I do? Because we're too tired to think.
Yeah.
Say, I'll walk Daisy for you, or I'm going to the grocery store, do you need, or I'll come over every Tuesday and help, you know, and clean the house for you. Tell us what you will do and then do it. Never, ever, ever tell us that you're going to do something and then flake on us.
Absolutely.
Because when we are doing the cancer dance, our emotional bounce back is very thin. And we'll feel it when somebody promises and doesn't come through.
Absolutely.
We'd rather have you just say, I'll pray for you, rather than say you'll do something and you don't.
Absolutely. And it's such a fragile time for everyone really involved. The person who's going through it and the person around the people around them that are supporting them. So yeah, I agree with that. And it's like, you know, it's all about integrity. Like if you say you're going to do something, do it. Otherwise you get in communication and you let them know, you know what, I actually just can't do it. So I really am inspired by that. I really love it. And, you know, your experience has really, it sounds like it made you a more whole person, right?
It was walking through the fire and leaving the dross behind. Yes, it's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
And so, you know, you've given a lot of great wisdom for everyone listening. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with them about your journey or about, you know, a place to stand?
The only other thing, advice-wise, if you will, that I'll tell people, especially because this is tough for couples, make sure that you understand yelling to versus yelling at. Because when you're scared, you're not thinking emotionally very much. If all you need to do is vent, tell your partner, I'm yelling to you. Yelling at you is, damn it, I need. Yelling to you is, I'm scared, just let me let it out.
Absolutely.
And when you're on the other side, do thank those who helped you. Do let your partner know if they stuck with you, how much it meant. And then get on with your life, kids. If you did the cancer dance and got off the dance floor in one piece, you got a lot of life left. What do you want to do with it?
And so that is what my focus is as a coach, right? Is that I am trying to support people in getting them beyond the fear of reoccurrence. Like get on with your life. And so what would you say would be the number, like outside of everything that you talked about, but like it's hard for some people and everybody has their own journey. But like, I guess at one point, when do you just kind of like tell people like, just do it? Like how much grace do you provide them, right? Because that's part of like what this conversation is about, is like giving people grace, let people be where they are. But at the same time, the people who've really supported you are the ones that are like, you know what, you look like crap, like get it together, right?
But the thing that I will just tell people, especially when they're afraid and they're still stuck, I will look at them and go, we're all going to die eventually. Nobody has an extended warranty.
Yeah.
You're going to waste it today? Who knows if you're going to be hit by a bus on Tuesday?
That's exactly what I say. It's true. We don't know. You know, our time here is limited. We have no idea how this is going to work.
So that's when I encourage people, find your sentence of passion.
Yeah.
Your sentence of passion is not who you are or what you do or even how you do it. It's your vapor trail. When you go skidding into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank and God hands you a beer and says, so, what are you going to tell him? My sentence of passion is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take somebody from point A to point B when they thought they couldn't make it, whack them on the shoulder and say, here are your wings. You don't need a flight plan. Now get. I am living my passion, and I've done it in every job I've ever had.
I absolutely adore that. You are such a powerful, strong woman that I thank you so much for being here. And I want people to know, like, how can they find you?
Oh, you can't avoid me, really. I'm on, I have a website, corbiemitleid.com. I am on Facebook, both as Corbie Mitleid. Also, Fire Through Spirit is the page that they should go to. For instance, right now, we're doing some free classes on there because we're all at home. One of them is a belly dance class. One of them is quarantine cooking. What do you do when you have nothing but a rubber boot, a fishing pole, and 5 pounds of flour and some pepper? You know, what do you do in the kitchen? So that's how you work it. Yes, I'm on Pinterest. Yes, I'm on Instagram. Yeah, all of that. But corbiemitleid.com is the main website, and there are 2 articles on there I want you to look at. One of them is how to be a co-conspirator, not a patient. And the other one for people who love you is how to be a light companion on a dark road. Both of those were written around this cancer dance and are very helpful.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I know it's going to support and help a lot of people out there that are on this road with us in this journey, right? So thank you so much for being here today. You are amazing. I cannot wait to go and dig into your page even further than what I already have. And yeah, this is not the last time we were going to see you. I would really love to have you back.
You got it. My
Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
You're welcome.